Hey, what's up? I got some more Riftbound content for you guys. Following up on my recent deep dive that covered Kaisa, I also have a deck profile for her, but with a twist. This is my unique take on Kaisa Aggro, along with the ideology behind some of my tech choices. Also, small disclaimer, this is my first ever physical deck profile, so please drop a like if you want to see more. I'll probably have to do proxy deck profiles for future decks, because I just don't have the product to make every deck for every legend. But for this one, I actually have all these cards and Kaisa is my main, so I'm excited to talk about her. With that, let's get right into it, starting with the legend card and my chosen champion, which is of course, Red Kaisa. She's absolutely broken, and is a constant looming threat that the opponent has to deal with in the early and mid game. You're very much rewarded for getting ahead, and then paying her accelerate cost as a quick conquer point and draw combo, making sure you stay ahead. Because of this, I'm also choosing to run another copy of Red Kaisa in the main, making for a total of 2 Kaisa champions. The second one can come up as a great cleave target in case you're not drawing Darius, making her a budget or great value brand 4th copy of him. Moving on to the rest of the main, I am running 3 Hextech Rays, 3 Stupefy, 3 Cleave, and 2 Retreats to round out the 1-cost spells. For 2-cost units, we have triple Ravenbloom Student, triple Watchful Sentry, and to round them out, 2 Legion Rearguards. Quick reminder that this is an aggro version of Kaisa. That being said, I still want to talk about the difference between Pouty Poro and Rearguard. So Pouty's main benefit comes in from not getting Hextech Raid or Gusted on first point, because it's really annoying for the opponent to pay the deflect cost to do so. That's quite literally where Pouty stops being valuable though. Afterwards, he's just a 2-might unit that's going to get beat over. Turn 3 onwards, he gets outscaled and outvalued by Rearguard multiple times over. Rearguard's versatility and sneaky point acquisition shines through in the mid game, effectively adding another threat that the opponent has to split their resources to deal with, because all of a sudden, you're threatening a hold point they weren't ready for you to accelerate into for just tap 3 and recycle 1. Another cool thing about him, and I kid you not, I've won a game like this, both battlefields were open and I was in top deck with my opponent. I did accelerated Rearguard for 0.7, retreat, and then replayed him accelerated again for 0.8. It's like a Temu version of Sneaky Deckhand plus Ride the Wind, but it's an insane option that does exist. Pouty Poro literally could never. That's why I don't see the point of running Pouty at 1. The chance of you seeing him in your opening hand is less than seeing him over the course of the game, and at that point, wouldn't you want Rearguard instead? It just doesn't make sense to me. 2 Pouties I get because it's really good for scoring first point, but after that, I just don't like him. I want something more well-rounded and doesn't suck to draw into. Rearguard has never felt like a dead draw. And again, the point of this deck is to push pressure a little bit faster than your standard typical Kaisa deck, so Rearguard fits the aggro mentality. And of course, before moving on to the 3-cost stuff, there is also triple Falling Star. So the best thing about Falling Star is not its damage or its cost, but actually how insanely flexible it is. It's like a multi-use tool. It's good from behind, able to clear out battlefields so you can conquer, but it's also really good from ahead as a win more card to prevent the opponent from developing. It's more than just removal, it's tempo. Trademark that and put it on a t-shirt. Next up for 3 costs, we do have 2 Lecturing Yordle and triple Void Seeker. So 3 Void does feel pretty heavy at times, but I love it in the Kaisa mirror, and it's an amazing card mid-game. To be honest, I kind of want to drop 1 of it for like 3rd Rearguard, and yes, I'm still in the Rearguard hype train, but it's also one of the cards I tend to side out. I will say I've seen 0, 1, 2, and 3 copies of Void Seeker in main, depending on the player, so I think it's a preference at the end of the day, but I definitely can't hate on any number you choose for it. And next up we have Noxus Hopeful at 3 of. Noxus Hopeful is one of the most broken cards that people don't talk about. He's super synergistic for Kaisa since he's so easy to proc. You're rewarded for playing your cards in conjunction with each other in the early game, and that reward is a 4-might unit, which dodges a lot of removal, and is a big body for the small price of 2 runes. After Noxus Hopeful, we have the ever-popular Red Darius. And to round out our top-end units, we also, of course, have triple Thousand-Tailed Watcher. And finally, the last 2 cards of the deck, we do have double Icathian Rain. And I think I have to clarify that no, I am not running Time Warp in the main. I know some players run it at 1 or even 2, but I do not. The main reason is that I don't have it. But even if I did, I'm running Aggro Kaisa. I'm not trying to get into the late game where Time Warp becomes more efficient. I'm trying to win as soon as possible, often with a Watcher play. That being said, I'm still not partial to it, even in regular Kaisa decks. I think it's fine as a side deck card though if you have it. It's just not for me and doesn't satisfy the way Kaisa wants to play, so there's a bit of a tonal mismatch whenever I think about playing with it online. I know that she likes it because it only costs 3 power due to her legend, so definitely feel free to keep running it if you utilize it well. Moving on to runes, I am running the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 reds, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blues. I think this is pretty standard. For the most part, you are going to be recycling red stuff for your units like Kaisa Accelerated, Darius, and also the Rearguard Accelerated if you choose to do so. So being a little bit heavier on the red makes sense. You're really only using blue for the Watcher, so as long as you have 2 by that point in the game, super easy. Small general rule as well, whenever I'm recycling for Icathian Rain, I tend to recycle until I have like 2 blues. That way I can play the Watcher in case he's in my hand. But if I'm on 2 Watcher, then yeah, you'd probably recycle mostly reds and make sure you keep your 4 blues up. That's just one of those things that you pick up while playing the game, is like which runes you recycle do actually matter depending on your hand. So if you are sitting on 2 Watcher and you want to do like Rain into Watcher, yeah, it's advisable that depending on how many runes you have left, where they are on the bottom of your rune deck, make sure that you're saving the proper amount of blue runes. Don't just be like throwing them away willy-nilly, because you don't want to be in a position where you top deck 2 red runes for your next turn and then you're sitting on 1 or even 0 blue runes. Then you won't be able to play the Watcher. And after runes, we have the battlefields, starting off with the Dreaming Tree. I cannot stress enough just how broken Dreaming Tree is. It says the first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here each turn, draw 1. So it is a hard once per turn, but there's a lot of things that you can do with the Dreaming Tree. One of my favorites is sending in a unit and then cleaving while they're already at the tree, and then you get your draw 1 while attacking. And that's really good because you might be able to top deck something that's like useful for you to finish the capture. It also fixes some of your dead hands or maybe some of your weaker ones, because like let's say you're in the mid game and you have Stupefy and it's really not doing too much for you. You're not even on Ravenbloom Student, so you can't take full advantage of like the Stupefy plus Ravenbloom Student ramping in might. You can literally just Stupefy your own thing at Dreaming Tree for a quick draw 2, and that's really, really good, especially if you are fishing for like some of your mid-game swing units. Like let's say you really need Darius or Watcher, or you need like Icathian Rain to slow down the opponent and stop their development, basically winning you the game. Then yeah, you're definitely going to want to do that. So you can turn Stupefy into more resources just because Dreaming Tree exists. You also get the extra benefit in case you retreat something there, so it's just like really safe. Yes, the opponent can also utilize the Dreaming Tree, but I feel like if the ball is in your court and you are actively playing at Dreaming Tree and you're making use of it, you're probably going to get a lot more value out of it than your opponent is. Because of this, the Dreaming Tree is also the battlefield I'd recommend throwing out for game 1 when you don't know if you're going first or second. If you're going first, hey, that's an added benefit and it might help you really win that game 1. But yeah, I would consider that the neutral battlefield. Now, if you do end up losing game 1, then I would recommend also running the Grove of the Godwillow. That way you can throw this out while choosing to go first for your second game. There's nothing wrong with having more draw. It's very vanilla, it's very safe. Yes, it's another battlefield that can benefit your opponent, but if you're choosing to go first, you actually have a lot more control over the Grove of the Godwillow than you do the Dreaming Tree. So you can make sure that you are setting up there, right? Mulligan really hard for your 2-drop, that way you can get to Grove, and then you can start pressuring the opponent to come fight you, or you are just going to draw cards every single time you hold, and that's really good. You're aiming to resolve this like 3 or 4 times over the course of the game, and that just makes Grove of the Godwillow super, super good. I have seen other battlefields be useful here, namely Reaver's Row. I think is actually really good if you're used to it and you really like playing around that. I think Reaver's Row can be super sick, especially at protecting your Kaisa. She can go back in later, reconquer, things like that. But this is very simple. Grove of the Godwillow, draw 1, really nice. If you already have like a battlefield selection that you're comfortable with, you can keep running that as well. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're on Dreaming Tree and you end up losing, so you go to Grove of the Godwillow next, well, what happens if you win and then the opponent is deciding that they're going first? What do you do? Well, for this third battlefield, this is where my list gets spicy and also reaffirms and reiterates the fact that it is indeed an aggro Kaisa list. So check this out. For the final, we have the Arena's Greatest, coming in at battlefield number 3. At the start of each player's first beginning phase, that player gains 1 point. So that just helps win more for the next game. I really like that extra point. Helps you get to your Watcher win con a little bit faster, lets you play aggressively. Even though you're going second, the opponent is going to get their like first conquer point before you, putting them at 2-1 over you, but that's okay because you have infinite removal. Hey, maybe they don't even get that first point because you can just like Hex Tech Ray their 2-drop, right? And then you can get yourself ahead from there, and then you're basically playing like as if you went first, because that's just what Kaisa can do. While she's going second, she's just as OP as going first because of floating that 1 extra rune for Hex Tech Ray on the opponent's second turn. So really, really sick. I digress. I think Arena's Greatest is awesome. I really like it for just speeding up the game and then also playing a bit win more. So like, let's say for example, you start with Dreaming Tree, okay, you lose. Well, then you're going to Grove of the God Willow. But let's do an alternate timeline. You did Dreaming Tree and then you won. Now the opponent is going to make themselves go first, you go second, you can do Arena's Greatest. Now, let's do a third timeline. Let's say we're going to game 3, guys. So you start with Dreaming Tree, okay, and then let's say you lose. So you're going to go on to Grove of the God Willow, okay, you win. Now we're in game 3, you're going to be able to play the Arena's Greatest. It's just no matter what, you're going to end up on Arena's Greatest over the course of your BO3, and I think that's really important because of one of the side deck cards that I'm also bringing to the table. Speaking of which, perfect segue into the side deck. I am running 2 Thermo Beam for those pesky Aurora decks, 2 Mega Mech also for the same thing, and also for other decks like the Kaisa Mirror, because it's really hard for them to deal with the 8 Might body, 2 Smokescreen for combat focused decks. And before I show the final 2 spicy cards, like I mentioned earlier, I don't have Time Warp, but I also don't have Unchecked Power, which I would like to run versus Aurora, but I'm making do with what I have. So yes, there's no Time Warp and there's no Unchecked in here. The final 2 cards are, you'll never guess, ready? Boom, boom. Double Red Draven Showboat from Origins. This really puts the nail in the coffin that I am trying to play not only the BO1, but the entire BO3 aggro, and Draven has synergy with the Arena's Greatest, and that's why I'm running this package together, because it just makes sense. So what I tend to do with Draven is, if they force me to go second, right, and then we end up on Arena's Greatest and I get that extra point, I'm still playing the game pretty normally, going, you know, spell for unit, unit for spell, I'm trying to get points. Once I'm in like the 4 to 5 point range, I will drop Draven on something that I already control, and it is near impossible for the opponent to come back from that position. If you are ahead, you just played like super win more. And again, the rest of the deck kind of like synergizes and supports this overall gameplay philosophy, and it feels really cool. That's why I was mentioning the Battlefield Roulette earlier, where if you go to Dreaming Tree on 1, okay, well then you're probably going to end up on the Arena's Greatest for game 2. You can immediately side in Draven, get that value, win more, and then boom, you're going 2-0 in that best of 3 if played properly and the things go, you know, in your favor. Now, if you end up in a best of 3 situation where you're like, okay, Dreaming Tree, and then you lose, so you end up on Grove of the God Willow, okay, well game 3, the opponent's going to be going first, and you get to end up on the Arena's Greatest and side in Draven anyway, so it's perfect. It literally just fulfills itself, it's self-synergistic, it's super nice, it's super clean, and I've had a lot of fun playing like this. So yeah, that wraps up the side deck. Again, I would like the Unchecked Power, I think that'd be cool, probably instead of Smokescreen, but yeah, then I'm just running like so much Aurora hate. And that's it for the deck profile, but I still have some tips that I want to mention, including Mulligan tips. So going first, of course, you always want to see like a combination of stuff. Ideally, you see a 2 cost. The best one is probably Ravenbloom Student, right? You definitely want to see him. And then you also want to see like Stupefy is nice. You want to see maybe a mid-game unit, and you want to see some of your early removal as well. Ideally, like 1 Hextech Ray and 1 Falling Star. When going second, you mainly want to mulligan for like the same thing, but you are also okay with keeping Lecturing Yordle if you don't see like Hextech Ray or something in your opening hand, because you can just play Lecturing Yordle on your turn 1 since you will be starting the game with 3 runes. However, again, like best case scenario is probably like starting with Ravenbloom Student and then also having Hex Ray, because if you go into your turn 1, you can play Ravenbloom Student, hold 1 rune for Hextech Ray since again you start with 3, then the turn passes back to the opponent, and when they try to move in their 2 cost to the first battlefield so they can score the first point to the game, you can just use your 3rd rune, right? Tap Kaisa and play Hextech Ray immediately from hand. And that's what makes Kaisa so incredibly strong and consistent, is that she's super good at going first, but she's also super okay with going second because of this combo. You always want to keep Hex Ray in your opening hand, or even hard mulligan for it if you can, if you're going second. I think that's like the most important card for your opening hand when going second. I'm not kidding. Hextech Ray just makes things so much simpler. Because what it's doing, you know, effectively is making you go first, but with an extra rune because you just shot something from your opponent. Whatever it is that they were trying to develop and push for first point with. Other than that, to reiterate, you definitely want to see a combination of stuff. You're pretty okay with a Void Seeker, you're pretty okay with a Hopeful, but you just really want to see your early game stuff, especially the stuff that cycles like Stupefy. That way you can kind of like dig into the mid game stuff. I want to give another tip that's really good for Kaisa, but also the game as a whole, is you need to make sure that you are recycling appropriately. So don't like sacrifice your tempo to do so. Let's say, for example, you have 6 runes, right? The next turn, you're going to go to 8, and that allows you to play Watcher and accelerate him as well. And maybe that's one of the cards in your hand. You really need it to like put some pressure on, do like a mid-game tempo swing. If you're on 6, right, at that time, don't play like Darius and Cleave combo unless you really have to, because if you do Darius here, right, and then you recycle, you are going to go from 6 runes down to 5, meaning the next round start you're going to be at 7 and unable to play the Watcher accelerated. So when it comes to these mid-game power turns, you're going to want to pay attention to like how many runes you have and making sure you don't dip below your certain thresholds that you want to curve. So it's really important to just be mindful of your plays. Don't just whip out like Darius Cleave right then and there because you have it for 6 mana, because it might be better to let your opponent develop, right? Play some stuff. Maybe they go into the battlefield, over commit to the board, and then you can punish them with the Watcher. Only do the Darius if your hand really calls for it or the game state really calls for it. You're beating over like 2 or 3 things. So this is like one of those tips that it definitely depends on the game. It depends on the game state in general and how things are going. But just something to keep in the back of your mind, like, okay, I need to count my runes. I have 6, I'm going to 8, right? That's going to be really important for Watcher. And try to keep these like breaking points in the back of your mind while you play. Another really cool combo I want to talk about is, let's say Darius is here because he conquered last turn. Okay, and then he readies round start. Something that you can do for Darius in the mid game, and it's something that I do a lot more now whenever I see the line, is bring Darius back to your base, right? You can recall him exhausted, and then when you play 2 cards that turn, he will be ready, and then also get his +2 might, and then he can attack the other location as well. This is really good if the board is empty and you can basically like just cheat a point, because Darius comes with a free accelerate in a way if he was already on the board. But you can also use him in conjunction with something else to just beat over both sides of the battlefields, right? Depending on where the opponent is. And I think that's really cool. It adds a little bit of flexibility to him, and you can use him as like a constant reoccurring threat, kind of in the same way that Set utilizes Kingpin Set, the yellow one. Just be like, boom, he goes in, okay, now he's back. Okay, Showstopper, okay, he's back. And then also like recycle to protect him instead of him dying next turn. Okay, he's back. Right, Darius is kind of doing the same thing, so just make sure you're utilizing him properly and min-maxing your Darius plays. Lastly, for general tips and combos, I want to talk about these cards in conjunction with each other. So you can do things like, right, stupefy something, it goes down to 3, and then you can Hex Tech Ray, but you can also do it in the opposite order, and this is something that I still see people confused about. So let's say, for example, the opponent has a 4 might unit. This is actually perfect. I have Noxus Hopeful right here. So let's say the opponent's playing Noxus Hopeful, right? And let's say you Hex Tech Ray him. Okay, he is now at this point in time a 4 attack and 1 HP unit because he just took 3 damage. So let's put a little counter on him, right? This will make it easier visually as well. So he has 3 damage on him already. So he is, again, a 4-1. Now, when you do something like Might Reduction, so like let's say you stupefy him after, he will now basically become a 3-0, killing him on the spot. Yes, it's weird, it's crazy. You can kill things with Stupefy. Now, the reason for this is because it says, give a unit -1 might this turn to a minimum of 1, but you're not reducing the might to 0, you're reducing their might to 3. It's that they already had the 3 damage on them, so they were, again, a 4-1, and now they're a 3-0, and that would kill it outright, technically, because Hextech Ray didn't lower might, it just added damage counters. So, yeah, that's basically how that combo works, and that's important to clarify and talk about, because I want to talk about Watcher and Falling Star, because you can effectively do the same thing, which is absolutely insane if you have like the amount of mana to do so. This is kind of like one of your final plays, because you are going to be tapping a lot to do so. But you can do something like Watcher, and then that lowers everything on the opponent's board -3. So that would be anything at the battlefield and anything at the opponent's base. Now, let's say you lowered a bunch of things to 3 might. So I wish I had a 6 might example in my hand, but I don't. Let's say this is Master Yi. I think that's probably a better example. You do Watcher, Master Yi goes down to 3. This Hopeful goes down to 1. Falling Star, target, kills both. Bye-bye, Master Yi. Because it lowered the might to 3, and then Falling Star did 3 to it, and that's really cool. But yeah, you can do it in like a bunch of different orders. You can also Falling Star first, right? You can Falling Star first, and then it remembers the 3 damage, and like, let's say again, this is Master Yi, right? Then you play Thousand Tail Watcher, boom, Master Yi just self-destructs because it already had the 3 damage on it from the Falling Star, and then Thousand Tail Watcher reduced it to a 3-0, effectively killing it on the spot. Super cool, super nice combo. Something to pay attention to, because it's like a massive board wipe in the mid game that you do have access to if you utilize it properly. And that's the end of this one. Again, make sure to check out my Kaisa deep dive video. Please comment below who you want to see a deep dive and deck profile for next. The highest upvoted comment will be the champion I choose for the next couple videos, so you have the power to dictate this video series. While you're commenting, please, again, drop a like and hit the subscribe button if this video helped at all, or if you want to see more. You have no idea how much those small things mean to me. And that's it for this one. Extra shout out to the patrons on screen. Much love and thank you for supporting. Aside from making YouTube videos, I also stream on Twitch. Check me out over there for live gameplay and yap sessions. I plan on doing community Riftbound tournaments in my Discord server as well, so feel free to join in to catch those events and when I go live or post videos. Thank you so much for watching and have a good one. Laters.